The Book of Jubilees, or the Little Genesis, Book of Division, Part 2, read by Alexander Scourby. This is the history of the division of the days of the law and of the testimony, of the events of the years, of their year, weeks, of their jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as the Lord spake to Moses on Mount Sinai when he went up to receive the tablets of the law and of the commandment, according to the voice of God, as he said unto him, Go up to the top of the mount. Chapter 26. And in the 7th year of this week, 2114 Anno Mundi. Isaac called Esau, his elder son, and said unto him, I am old, my son, and behold, my eyes are dim in seeing, and I know not the day of my death. And now take thy hunting weapons, thy quiver and thy bow, and go out to the field, and hunt and catch me, venison, my son, and make me savory meat, such as my soul loveth, and bring it to me, that I may eat, and that my soul may bless thee before I die. But Rebekah heard Isaac speaking to Esau, and Esau went forth early to the field, to hunt and catch, and bring home to his father. And Rebekah called Jacob her son, and said unto him, Behold, I heard Isaac thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Hunt for me, and make me savory meat, and bring it to me, that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before I die. And now, my son, obey my voice in that which I command thee. Go to thy flock, and fetch me 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loves, and thou shalt bring to thy father, that he may eat and bless thee before the Lord before he die, and that thou mayest be blessed. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Mother, I shall not withhold anything which my father would eat, and which would please him. Only I fear, my mother, that he will recognize my voice, and wish to touch me. And thou knowest that I am smooth, and Esau my brother is hairy, and I shall appear before his eyes as an evildoer, and shall do a deed which he had not commanded me, and he will be wroth with me, and I shall bring upon myself a curse, and not a blessing. And Rebekah, his mother, said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son, only obey my voice. And Jacob obeyed the voice of Rebekah, his mother, and went and fetched 2 good and fat kids of the goats, and brought them to his mother, and his mother made them savory meat, such as he loved. And Rebekah took the goodly raiment of Esau, her elder son, which was with her in the house, and she clothed Jacob, her younger son, with them. And she put the skins of the kids upon his hands, and on the exposed parts of his neck. And she gave the meat and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. And Jacob went into his father, and said, I am thy son. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise and sit, and eat of that which I have caught, father, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said to his son, How hast thou found so quickly, my son? And Jacob said, Because the Lord thy God caused me to find. And Isaac said unto him, Come near, that I may feel thee, my son, if thou art my son, Esau or not. And Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because it was a dispensation from heaven to remove his power of perception, and Isaac discerned not, for his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's, so that he blessed him. And he said, Art thou my son Esau? And he said, I am thy son. And he said, Bring near to me, that I may eat of that which thou hast caught, my son, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And Isaac his father said unto him, Come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his raiment, and he blessed him, and said, Behold, the smell of my son is as the smell of a full field, which the Lord hath blessed. And may the Lord give thee of the dew of heaven, and of the dew of the earth, and plenty of corn and oil. Let nations serve thee, and peoples bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. And may all the blessings wherewith the Lord hath blessed me, and blessed Abraham my father, be imparted to thee and to thy seed forever. Cursed be he that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing his son Jacob, and Jacob had gone forth from Isaac his father, he hid himself, and Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also made savory meat, and brought it to his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said unto him, I am thy firstborn, thy son Esau. I have done as thou hast commanded me. And Isaac was very greatly astonished, and said, Who is he that hath hunted and caught and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. And he shall be blessed, and all his seed forever. And it came to pass, when Esau heard the words of his father Isaac, that he cried with an exceeding great and bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, father. And he said unto him, Thy brother came with guile, and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, Now I know why his name is named Jacob. Behold, he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me, father? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with plenty of corn and wine and oil have I strengthened him. And what now shall I do for thee, my son? And Esau said to Isaac his father, Hast thou but one blessing, O father? Bless me, even me also, father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac answered and said unto him, Behold, far from the dew of the earth shall be thy dwelling, and far from the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword wilt thou live, and thou wilt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou becomest great, and dost shake his yoke from off thy neck, thou shalt sin a complete sin unto death, and thy seed shall be rooted out from under heaven. And Esau kept threatening Jacob, because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And he said in his heart, May the days of mourning for my father now come, so that I may slay my brother Jacob. Chapter 27. And the words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah in a dream. And Rebekah sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, Esau, thy brother will take vengeance on thee, so as to kill thee. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, and flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's anger turns away, and he remove his anger from thee, and forget all that thou hast done. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. And Jacob said, I am not afraid. If he wishes to kill me, I will kill him. But she said unto him, Let me not be bereft of both my sons on one day. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, thou knowest that my father has become old, and does not see, because his eyes are dull. And if I leave him, it will be evil in his eyes, because I leave him and go away from you, and my father will be angry, and will curse me. I will not go. When he sends me, then only will I go. And Rebekah said to Jacob, I will go in and speak to him, and he will send thee away. And Rebekah went in and said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the 2 daughters of Heth, whom Esau has taken him as wives. And if Jacob take a wife from among the daughters of the land, such as these, for what purpose do I further live? For the daughters of Canaan are evil. And Isaac called Jacob, and blessed him, and admonished him, and said unto him, Do not take thee a wife of any of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, and go to Mesopotamia, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee, and increase and multiply thee, that thou mayest become a company of nations, and give thee the blessings of my father Abraham, to thee and to thy seed after thee, that thou mayest inherit the land of thy sojournings, and all the land which God gave to Abraham. Go, my son, in peace. And Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Mesopotamia, to Laban the son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's mother. And it came to pass, after Jacob had arisen to go to Mesopotamia, that the spirit of Rebekah was grieved after her son, and she wept. And Isaac said to Rebekah, My sister, weep not on account of Jacob my son, for he goeth in peace, and in peace will he return. The Most High God will preserve him from all evil, and will be with him, for he will not forsake him all his days. For I know that his ways will be prospered in all things wherever he goes, until he return in peace to us, and we see him in peace. Fear not on his account, my sister, for he is on the upright path, and he is a perfect man, and he is faithful, and will not perish. Weep not. And Isaac comforted Rebekah on account of her son Jacob, and blessed him. And Jacob went from the well of the oath to go to Haran on the 1st year of the 2nd week in the 44th Jubilee. And he came to Luz on the mountains, that is Bethel, on the new moon of the first month of this week, 2115 a.m. And he came to the place at even, and turned from the way to the west of the road that night. And he slept there, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place, and laid under the tree. And he was journeying alone, and he slept. And he dreamt that night, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of the Lord ascended and descended on it, and behold, the Lord stood upon it. And he spake to Jacob, and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou art sleeping, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed after thee. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt increase to the west, and to the east, to the north and the south, and in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the nations be blessed. And behold, I will be with thee, and will keep thee whithersoever thou goest, and I will bring thee again into this land in peace. For I will not leave thee until I do everything that I told thee of. And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and said, Truly, this place is the house of the Lord, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and said, Dreadful is this place, which is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob arose early in the morning, and took the stone which he had put under his head, and set it up as a pillar for a sign, and he poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the place was Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow unto the Lord, saying, If the Lord will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God, and this stone which I have set up as a pillar for a sign in this place shall be the Lord's house, and of all that thou givest me I shall give the 10th to thee, my God. Chapter 28. And he went on his journey, and came to the land of the east, to Laban, the brother of Rebekah, and he was with him, and served him for Rachel his daughter 1 week. And in the first year of the 3rd week, 2122 a.m., he said unto him, Give me my wife, for whom I have served thee 7 years. And Laban said unto Jacob, I will give thee thy wife. And Laban made a feast, and took Leah his elder daughter, and gave her to Jacob as a wife, and gave her Zilpah his handmaid for an handmaid. And Jacob did not know, for he thought that she was Rachel. And he went in unto her, and behold, she was Leah. And Jacob was angry with Laban, and said unto him, Why hast thou dealt thus with me? Did not I serve thee for Rachel, and not for Leah? Why hast thou wronged me? Take thy daughter, and I will go, for thou hast done evil to me. For Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah, for Leah's eyes were weak, but her form was very handsome. But Rachel had beautiful eyes, and a beautiful and very handsome form. And Laban said to Jacob, It is not so done in our country to give the younger before the elder. And it is not right to do this, for thus it is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets that no one should give his younger daughter before the elder. But the elder one gives first, and after her the younger, and the man who does so, they set down guilt against him in heaven. And none is righteous that does this thing, for this deed is evil before the Lord. And command thou the children of Israel that they do not this thing. Let them neither take nor give the younger before they have given the elder, for it is very wicked. And Laban said to Jacob, Let the 7 days of the feast of this one pass by, and I shall give thee Rachel, that thou mayest serve me another 7 years, that thou mayest pasture my sheep as thou didst in the former week. And on the day when the 7 days of the feast of Leah had passed, Laban gave Rachel to Jacob, that he might serve him another 7 years, and he gave to Rachel Bilhah, the sister of Zilpah, as a handmaid. And he served yet other 7 years for Rachel, for Leah had been given to him for nothing. And the Lord opened the womb of Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob a son, and he called his name Reuben on the 14th day of the 9th month in the 1st year of the 3rd week, 2122 a.m. But the womb of Rachel was closed, for the Lord saw that Leah was hated, and Rachel loved. And again Jacob went in unto Leah, and she conceived, and bare Jacob a 2nd son, and he called his name Simeon on the 21st of the 10th month, and in the 3rd year of this week, 2124 a.m. And again Jacob went in unto Leah, and she conceived, and bare him a third son, and he called his name Levi. In the new moon of the 1st month in the 6th year of this week, 2127 a.m. And again Jacob went in unto her, and she conceived, and bare him a fourth son, and he called his name Judah on the 15th of the 3rd month, in the 1st year of the 4th week, 2129 a.m. And on account of all this Rachel envied Leah, for she did not bear. And she said to Jacob, Give me children. And Jacob said, Have I withheld from thee the fruits of thy womb? Have I forsaken thee? And when Rachel saw that Leah had borne 4 sons to Jacob, Reuben, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, she said unto him, Go in unto Bilhah my handmaid, and she will conceive and bear a son unto me. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife. And he went in unto her, and she conceived, and bare him a son. And he called his name Dan on the 9th of the 6th month in the 6th year of the 3rd week, 2127 a.m. And Jacob went in again unto Bilhah a second time, and she conceived, and bare Jacob another son. And Rachel called his name Naphtali, on the 5th of the 7th month in the 2nd year of the 4th week, 2130 a.m. And when Leah saw that she had become sterile, and did not bear, she envied Rachel. And she also gave her handmaid Zilpah to Jacob to wife. And she conceived, and bare a son, and Leah called his name Gad on the 12th of the 8th month, in the 3rd year of the 4th week, 2131 a.m. And he went in again unto her, and she conceived, and bare him a second son, and Leah called his name Asher on the 2nd of the 11th month in the 5th year of the 4th week, 2133 a.m. And Jacob went in unto Leah, and she conceived, and bare a son, and she called his name Issachar on the 4th of the 5th month in the 4th year of the 4th week, 2132 a.m. And she gave him to a nurse. And Jacob went in again unto her, and she conceived, and bare 2 children, a son and a daughter. And she called the name of the son Zabulon, and the name of the daughter Dinah, in the 7th of the 7th month, in the 6th year of the 4th week, 2134 a.m. And the Lord was gracious to Rachel, and opened her womb, and she conceived, and bare a son, and she called his name Joseph, on the new moon of the 4th month, in the 6th year in this 4th week, 2134 a.m. And in the days when Joseph was born, Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wives and sons, and let me go to my father Isaac, and let me make me an house. For I have completed the years in which I have served thee for thy 2 daughters, and I will go to the house of my father. And Laban said to Jacob, Tarry with me for thy wages, and pasture my flock for me again, and take thy wages. And they agreed with one another that he should give him as his wages those of the lambs and kids which were born, black and spotted and white. These were to be his wages. And all the sheep brought forth spotted and speckled and black, variously marked. And they brought forth again lambs like themselves, and all that were spotted were Jacob's, and those which were not were Laban's. And Jacob's possessions multiplied exceedingly, and he possessed oxen and sheep and asses and camels, and menservants and maidservants. And Laban and his sons envied Jacob, and Laban took back his sheep from him, and he observed him with evil intent. Chapter 29. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Laban went to shear his sheep, for they were distant from him a 3 days' journey. And Jacob saw that Laban was going to shear his sheep. And Jacob called Leah and Rachel, and spake kindly unto them that they should come with him to the land of Canaan. For he told them how he had seen everything in a dream, even all that he had spoken unto him, that he should return to his father's house. And they said, To every place whither thou goest, we will go with thee. And Jacob blessed the God of Isaac his father, and the God of Abraham his father's father. And he arose and mounted his wives and his children, and took all his possessions, and crossed the river, and came to the land of Gilead. And Jacob hid his intention from Laban, and told him not. And in the 7th year of the 4th week Jacob turned his face toward Gilead in the 1st month on the 21st thereof. And Laban pursued after him, and overtook Jacob in the mountain of Gilead in the 3rd month on the 13th thereof. And the Lord did not suffer him to injure Jacob, for he appeared to him in a dream by night. And Laban spake to Jacob. And on the 15th of those days Jacob made a feast for Laban, and for all who came with him. And Jacob sware to Laban that day, and Laban also to Jacob, that neither should cross the mountain of Gilead to the other, with evil purpose. And he made there a heap for a witness, wherefore the name of that place is called the heap of witness, after this heap. But before they used to call the land of Gilead the land of the Rephaim, for it was the land of the Rephaim, and the Rephaim were born there, giants whose height was 10, 9, 8, down to 7 cubits. And their habitation was from the land of the children of Ammon to Mount Hermon, and the seats of their kingdom were Karnaim, and Ashtaroth, and Edrei, and Mizur, and Beon. And the Lord destroyed them because of the evil of their deeds, for they were very malignant, and the Amorites dwelt in their stead, wicked and sinful. And there is no people today which has wrought to the full all their sins, and they have no longer length of life on the earth. And Jacob sent away Laban, and he departed into Mesopotamia, the land of the east, and Jacob returned to the land of Gilead. And he passed over the Jabbok in the 9th month, on the 11th thereof. And on that day Esau his brother came to him, and he was reconciled to him, and departed from him unto the land of Seir, but Jacob dwelt in tents. And in the 1st year of the 5th week in this Jubilee, 2136 a.m., he crossed the Jordan, and dwelt beyond the Jordan. And he pastured his sheep from the sea of the Heap unto Bethshan, and unto Dothan, and unto the forest of Akrabim. And he sent to his father Isaac of all his substance, clothing, and food, and meat, and drink, and milk, and butter, and cheese, and some dates of the valley. And to his mother Rebekah also 4 times a year, between the times of the months, between plowing and reaping, and between autumn and the rain season, and between winter and spring, to the tower of Abraham. For Isaac had returned from the well of the oath, and gone up to the tower of his father Abraham, and he dwelt there apart from his son Esau. For in the days when Jacob went to Mesopotamia, Esau took to himself a wife, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael. And he gathered together all the flocks of his father and his wives, and went up and dwelt on Mount Seir, and left Isaac his father at the well of the oath alone. And Isaac went up from the well of the oath, and dwelt in the tower of Abraham his father on the mountains of Hebron. And thither Jacob sent all that he did send to his father and his mother from time to time, all they needed. And they blessed Jacob with all their heart, and with all their soul. Chapter 30. And in the 1st year of the 6th week, 2143 a.m., he went up to Salem, to the east of Shechem, in peace, in the 4th month. And there they carried off Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, into the house of Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land. And he lay with her, and defiled her, and she was a little girl, a child of 12 years. And he besought his father and her brothers, that she might be given to him to wife. And Jacob and his sons were wroth because of the men of Shechem, for they had defiled Dinah their sister, and they spake to them with evil intent, and dealt deceitfully with them, and beguiled them. And Simeon and Levi came unexpectedly to Shechem, and executed judgment on all the men of Shechem, and slew all the men whom they found in it, and left not a single one remaining in it. They slew all in torments, because they had dishonored their sister Dinah. And thus let it not again be done from henceforth, that a daughter of Israel be defiled. For judgment is ordained in heaven against them, that they should destroy with the sword all the men of the Shechemites, because they had wrought shame in Israel. And the Lord delivered them into the hands of the sons of Jacob, that they might exterminate them with the sword, and execute judgment upon them, and that it might not thus again be done in Israel, that a virgin of Israel should be defiled. And if there is any man who wishes in Israel to give his daughter or his sister to any man who is of the seed of the Gentiles, he shall surely die, and they shall stone him with stones. For he hath wrought shame in Israel, and they shall burn the woman with fire, because she has dishonored the name of the house of her father, and she shall be rooted out of Israel. And let not an adulteress and no uncleanness be found in Israel throughout all the days of the generations of the earth. For Israel is holy unto the Lord, and every man who has defiled it shall surely die. They shall stone him with stones. For thus has it been ordained and written in the heavenly tablets regarding all the seed of Israel, He who defileth it shall surely die, and he shall be stoned with stones. And to this law there is no limit of days, and no remission, nor any atonement. But the man who has defiled his daughter shall be rooted out in the midst of all Israel, because he has given of his seed to Moloch, and wrought impiously so as to defile it. And do thou, Moses, command the children of Israel, and exhort them not to give their daughters to the Gentiles, and not to take for their sons any of the daughters of the Gentiles, for this is abominable before the Lord. For this reason I have written for thee in the words of the law all the deeds of the Shechemites, which they wrought against Dinah, and how the sons of Jacob spake, saying, We will not give our daughter to a man who is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. And it is a reproach to Israel, to those who live, and to those that take the daughters of the Gentiles, for this is unclean and abominable to Israel. And Israel will not be free from this uncleanness, if it has a wife of the daughters of the Gentiles, or has given any of its daughters to a man who is of any of the Gentiles. For there will be plague upon plague, and curse upon curse, and every judgment and plague and curse will come upon him. If he do this thing, or hide his eyes from those who commit uncleanness, or those who defile the sanctuary of the Lord, or those who profane his holy name, then will the whole nation together be judged for all the uncleanness and profanation of this man. And there will be no respect of persons, and no consideration of persons, and no receiving at his hands of fruits and offerings and burnt offerings and fat, nor the fragrance of sweet savour, so as to accept it. And so fare every man or woman in Israel who defiles the sanctuary. For this reason I have commanded thee, saying, Testify this testimony to Israel. See how the Shechemites fared and their sons, how they were delivered into the hands of 2 sons of Jacob, and they slew them under torches, and it was reckoned unto them for righteousness, and it is written down to them for righteousness. And the seed of Levi was chosen for the priesthood, and to be Levites, that they might minister before the Lord, as we continually, and that Levi and his sons may be blessed forever. For he was zealous to execute righteousness and judgment and vengeance on all those who arose against Israel. And so they inscribe as a testimony in his favor on the heavenly tablets blessing and righteousness before the God of all, and we remember the righteousness which the man fulfilled during his life at all periods of the year. Until 1,000 generations they will record it, and it will come to him and to his descendants after him, and he has been recorded on the heavenly tablets as a friend and a righteous man. All this account I have written for thee, and have commanded thee to say to the children of Israel, that they should not commit sin, nor transgress the ordinances, nor break the covenant which has been ordained for them, but that they should fulfill it and be recorded as friends. But if they transgress and work uncleanness in every way, they will be recorded on the heavenly tablets as adversaries, and they will be destroyed out of the book of life, and they will be recorded in the book of those who will be destroyed, and with those who will be rooted out of the earth. And on the day when the sons of Jacob slew Shechem, a writing was recorded in their favor in heaven, that they had executed righteousness and uprightness and vengeance on the sinners, and it was written for a blessing. And they brought Dinah their sister out of the house of Shechem, and they took captive everything that was in Shechem, their sheep, and their oxen, and their asses, and all their wealth, and all their flocks, and brought them all to Jacob their father. And he reproached them, because they had put the city to the sword, for he feared those who dwelt in the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And the dread of the Lord was upon all the cities which are around about Shechem, and they did not rise to pursue after the sons of Jacob, for terror had fallen upon them. Chapter 31. And on the new moon of the month Jacob spake to all the people of his house, saying, Purify yourselves, and change your garments, and let us arise and go up to Bethel, where I vowed a vow to him on the day when I fled from the face of Esau my brother, because he has been with me, and brought me into this land in peace, and put ye away the strange gods that arc among you. And they gave up the strange gods, and that which was in their ears, and which was on their necks, and the idols which Rachel stole from Laban her father, she gave wholly to Jacob. And he burnt, and brake them to pieces, and destroyed them, and hid them under an oak which is in the land of Shechem. And he went up on the new moon of the 7th month to Bethel, and he built an altar at the place where he had slept, and he set up a pillar there, and he sent word to his father Isaac to come to him to his sacrifice, and to his mother Rebekah. And Isaac said, Let my son Jacob come, and let me see him before I die. And Jacob went to his father Isaac and to his mother Rebekah, to the house of his father Abraham, and he took 2 of his sons with him, Levi and Judah, and he came to his father Isaac and to his mother Rebekah. And Rebekah came forth from the tower to the front of it, to kiss Jacob and embrace him. For her spirit had revived when she heard, Behold, Jacob thy son has come. And she kissed him. And she saw his 2 sons, and she recognized them, and said unto him, Are these thy sons, my son? And she embraced them, and kissed them, and blessed them, saying, In you shall the seed of Abraham become illustrious, and ye shall prove a blessing on the earth. And Jacob went in to Isaac his father, to the chamber where he lay, and his 2 sons were with him. And he took the hand of his father. And stooping down he kissed him. And Isaac clung to the neck of Jacob his son, and wept upon his neck. And the darkness left the eyes of Isaac. And he saw the 2 sons of Jacob, Levi and Judah, and he said, Are these thy sons, my son? For they are like thee. And he said unto him that they were truly his sons. And thou hast truly seen that they are truly my sons. And they came near to him, and he turned and kissed them, and embraced them both together. And the spirit of prophecy came down into his mouth, and he took Levi by his right hand, and Judah by his left. And he turned to Levi first, and began to bless him first, and said unto him, May the God of all, the very Lord of all the ages, bless thee and thy children throughout all the ages. And may the Lord give to thee and to thy seed greatness and great glory, and cause thee and thy seed from among all flesh to approach him to serve in his sanctuary as the angels of the presence and as the holy ones. Even as they shall the seed of thy sons be, for glory and greatness and holiness, and may he make them great unto all the ages. And they shall be judges and princes and chiefs of all the seed of the sons of Jacob. They shall speak the word of the Lord in righteousness, and they shall judge all his judgments in righteousness. And they shall declare my ways to Jacob and my paths to Israel. The blessing of the Lord shall be given in their mouths, to bless all the seed of the beloved. Thy mother has called thy name Levi, and justly has she called thy name. Thou shalt be joined to the Lord, and be the companion of all the sons of Jacob. Let his table be thine, and do thou and thy sons eat thereof, and may thy table be full unto all generations, and thy food fail not unto all the ages. And let all who hate thee fall down before thee, and let all thy adversaries be rooted out and perish. And blessed be he that blesses thee, and cursed be every nation that curses thee. And to Judah he said, May the Lord give thee strength and power to tread down all that hate thee. A prince shalt thou be, thou and one of thy sons, over the sons of Jacob. May thy name and the name of thy sons go forth and traverse every land and region. Then shall the Gentiles fear before thy face, and all the nations shall quake, and all the peoples shall quake. In thee shall be the help of Jacob, and in thee be found the salvation of Israel. And when thou sittest on the throne of honor of thy righteousness, there shall be great peace for all the seed of the sons of the beloved. Blessed be he that blesseth thee, and all that hate thee, and afflict thee, and curse thee, shall be rooted out and destroyed from the earth, and be accursed. And turning, he kissed him again, and embraced him, and rejoiced greatly, for he had seen the sons of Jacob his son in very truth. And he went forth from between his feet, and fell down, and bowed down to him. And he blessed them, and rested there with Isaac his father that night. And they eat and drank with joy. And he made the 2 sons of Jacob sleep, the one on his right hand, and the other on his left. And it was counted to him for righteousness. And Jacob told his father everything during the night, how the Lord had shown him great mercy, and how he had prospered him in all his ways, and protected him from all evil. And Isaac blessed the God of his father Abraham, who had not withdrawn his mercy and his righteousness from the sons of his servant Isaac. And in the morning Jacob told his father Isaac the vow which he had vowed to the Lord, and the vision which he had seen, and that he had built an altar, and that everything was ready for the sacrifice to be made before the Lord as he had vowed, and that he had come to set him on an ass. And Isaac said unto Jacob his son, I am not able to go with thee, for I am old and not able to bear the way. Go, my son, in peace, for I am 165 years this day. I am no longer able to journey. Set thy mother on an ass, and let her go with thee. And I know, my son, that thou hast come on my account, and may this day be blessed on which thou hast seen me alive, and I also have seen thee, my son. Mayest thou prosper and fulfill the vow which thou hast vowed, and put not off thy vow, for thou shalt be called to account as touching the vow. Now therefore make haste to perform it. And may he be pleased who has made all things, to whom thou hast vowed the vow. And he said to Rebekah, Go with Jacob thy son. And Rebekah went with Jacob her son, and Deborah with her, and they came to Bethel. And Jacob remembered the prayer with which his father had blessed him and his 2 sons, Levi and Judah, and he rejoiced and blessed the God of his fathers, Abraham and Isaac. And he said, Now I know that I have an eternal hope, and my sons also, before the God of all. And thus is it ordained concerning the 2. And they record it as an eternal testimony unto them on the heavenly tablets, how Isaac blessed them. Chapter 32. And he abode that night at Bethel, and Levi dreamed that they had ordained and made him the priest of the Most High God, him and his sons forever. And he awoke from his sleep, and blessed the Lord. And Jacob rose early in the morning on the 14th of this month, and he gave a tithe of all that came with him, both of men and cattle, both of gold, and every vessel and garment, yea, he gave tithes of all. And in those days Rachel became pregnant with her son Benjamin. And Jacob counted his sons from him upwards, and Levi fell to the portion of the Lord. And his father clothed him in the garments of the priesthood, and filled his hands. And on the 15th of this month he brought to the altar 14 oxen from amongst the cattle, and 28 rams, and 49 sheep, and 7 lambs, and 21 kids of the goats as a burnt offering on the altar of sacrifice, well-pleasing for a sweet savour before God. This was his offering, in consequence of the vow which he had vowed that he would give 1/10 with their fruit offerings and their drink offerings. And when the fire had consumed it, he burnt incense on the fire over the fire, and for a thank offering 2 oxen, and 4 rams and 4 sheep, 4 he-goats, and 2 sheep of a year old, and 2 kids of the goats. And thus he did daily for 7 days. And he and all his sons and his men were eating this with joy there during 7 days, and blessing and thanking the Lord, who had delivered him out of all his tribulation, and had given him his vow. And he tithed all the clean animals, and made a burnt sacrifice, but the unclean animals he gave, not to Levi his son. And he gave him all the souls of the men. And Levi discharged the priestly office at Bethel before Jacob his father, in preference to his 10 brothers, and he was a priest there, and Jacob gave his vow. Thus he tithed again the tithe to the Lord, and sanctified it, and it became holy unto him. And for this reason it is ordained on the heavenly tablets as a law for the tithing again, the tithe to eat before the Lord from year to year, in the place where it is chosen that his name should dwell, and to this law there is no limit of days forever. This ordinance is written that it may be fulfilled from year to year in eating the 2nd tithe before the Lord, in the place where it has been chosen, and nothing shall remain over from it from this year to the year following. For in its year shall the seed be eaten till the days of the gathering of the seed of the year, and the wine till the days of the wine, and the oil till the days of its season. And all that is left thereof and becomes old, let it be regarded as polluted. Let it be burnt with fire, for it is unclean. And thus let them eat it together in the sanctuary, and let them not suffer it to become old. And all the tithes of the oxen and sheep shall be holy unto the Lord, and shall belong to his priests, which they will eat before him from year to year, for thus is it ordained and engraven regarding the tithe on the heavenly tablets. And on the following night, on the 22nd day of this month, Jacob resolved to build that place, and to surround the court with a wall, and to sanctify it, and make it holy forever, for himself and his children after him. And the Lord appeared to him by night, and blessed him, and said unto him, Thy name shall not be called Jacob, but Israel shall they name thy name. And he said unto him again, I am the Lord who created the heaven and the earth, and I will increase thee and multiply thee exceedingly, and kings shall come forth from thee, and they shall judge everywhere, wherever the foot of the sons of men has trodden. And I will give to thy seed all the earth which is under heaven, and they shall judge all the nations according to their desires, and after that they shall get possession of the whole earth, and inherit it forever. And he finished speaking with him, and he went up from him. And Jacob looked till he had ascended into heaven. And he saw in a vision of the night, and behold, an angel descended from heaven with 7 tablets in his hands. And he gave them to Jacob, and he read them, and knew all that was written therein, which would befall him and his sons throughout all the ages. And he showed him all that was written on the tablets, and said unto him, Do not build this place, and do not make it an eternal sanctuary, and do not dwell here, for this is not the place. Go to the house of Abraham thy father, and dwell with Isaac thy father, until the day of the death of thy father. For in Egypt thou shalt die in peace, and in this land thou shalt be buried with honor in the sepulchre of thy fathers, with Abraham and Isaac. Fear not, for as thou hast seen and read it, thus shall it all be. And do thou write down everything as thou hast seen and read. And Jacob said, Lord, how can I remember all that I have read and seen? And he said unto him, I will bring all things to thy remembrance. And he went up from him, and he awoke from his sleep, and he remembered everything which he had read and seen, and he wrote down all the words which he had read and seen. And he celebrated there yet another day, and he sacrificed thereon according to all that he sacrificed on the former days, and called its name Addition, for this day was added, and the former days he called the feast. And thus it was manifested that it should be. And it is written on the heavenly tablets, wherefore it was revealed to him that he should celebrate it, and add it to the 7 days of the feast. And its name was called Addition, because that it was recorded amongst the days of the feast days, according to the number of the days of the year. And in the night, on the 23rd of this month, Deborah Rebekah's nurse died, and they buried her beneath the city under the oak of the river. And he called the name of this place the river of Deborah, and the oak of the mourning of Deborah. And Rebekah went and returned to her house to his father Isaac. And Jacob sent by her hand rams and sheep and he-goats, that she should prepare a meal for his father such as he desired. And he went after his mother till he came to the land of Cabretan, and he dwelt there. And Rachel bare a son in the night, and called his name Son of my sorrow, for she suffered in giving him birth. But his father called his name Benjamin, on the 11th of the 8th month, in the 1st of the 6th week of this Jubilee. 2143 a.m. And Rachel died there, and she was buried in the land of Ephrath, the same as Bethlehem. And Jacob built a pillar on the grave of Rachel on the road above her grave. Chapter 33. And Jacob went and dwelt to the south of Magdala-Eph. And he went to his father Isaac, he and Leah his wife, on the new moon of the 10th month. And Reuben saw Bilhah, Rachel's maid, the concubine of his father, bathing in water in a secret place, and he loved her. And he hid himself at night, and he entered the house of Bilhah at night, and he found her sleeping alone on a bed in her house. And he lay with her, and she awoke and saw, and behold, Reuben was lying with her in the bed, and she uncovered the border of her covering, and seized him, and cried out, and discovered that it was Reuben. And she was ashamed because of him, and released her hand from him, and he fled. And she lamented because of this thing exceedingly, and did not tell it to anyone. And when Jacob returned and sought her, she said unto him, I am not clean for thee, for I have been defiled as regards thee, for Reuben has defiled me, and has lain with me in the night, and I was asleep, and did not discover until he uncovered my skirt, and slept with me. And Jacob was exceedingly wroth with Reuben, because he had lain with Bilhah, because he had uncovered his father's skirt. And Jacob did not approach her again, because Reuben had defiled her. And as for any man who uncovers his father's skirt, his deed is wicked exceedingly, for he is abominable before the Lord. For this reason it is written and ordained on the heavenly tablets, that a man should not lie with his father's wife, and should not uncover his father's skirt, for this is unclean. They shall surely die together, the man who lies with his father's wife, and the woman also, for they have wrought uncleanness on the earth. And there shall be nothing unclean before our God in the nation which he has chosen for himself as a possession. And again it is written a second time, Cursed be he who lieth with the wife of his father, for he hath uncovered his father's shame. And all the holy ones of the Lord said, So be it, so be it. And do thou, Moses, command the children of Israel that they observe this word, for it entails a punishment of death. And it is unclean, and there is no atonement forever to atone for the man who has committed this, but he is to be put to death and slain, and stoned with stones, and rooted out from the midst of the people of our God. For to no man who does so in Israel is it permitted to remain alive a single day on the earth, for he is abominable and unclean. And let them not say, To Reuben was granted life and forgiveness after he had lain with his father's concubine, and to her also, though she had a husband, and her husband Jacob his father was still alive. For until that time there had not been revealed the ordinance and judgment and law in its completeness for all, but in thy days it has been revealed as a law of seasons and of days, and an everlasting law for the everlasting generations. And for this law there is no consummation of days, and no atonement for it. But they must both be rooted out in the midst of the nation. On the day whereon they committed it, they shall slay them. And do thou, Moses, write it down for Israel, that they may observe it, and do according to these words, and not commit a sin unto death, for the Lord our God is judge, who respects not persons and accepts not gifts. And tell them these words of the covenant, that they may hear and observe, and be on their guard with respect to them, and not be destroyed and rooted out of the land. For an uncleanness, and an abomination, and a contamination, and a pollution are all they who commit it on the earth before our God. And there is no greater sin than the fornication which they commit on earth, for Israel is a holy nation unto the Lord its God, and a nation of inheritance, and a priestly and royal nation, and for his own possession. And there shall no such uncleanness appear in the midst of the holy nation. And in the 3rd year of this 6th week, 2145 a.m. Jacob and all his sons went and dwelt in the house of Abraham, near Isaac his father, and Rebekah his mother. And these were the names of the sons of Jacob, the firstborn: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, the sons of Leah, and the sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin, and the sons of Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali, and the sons of Zilpah, Gad and Asher, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, the only daughter of Jacob. And they came and bowed themselves to Isaac and Rebekah. And when they saw them, they blessed Jacob and all his sons, and Isaac rejoiced exceedingly. For he saw the sons of Jacob his younger son, and he blessed them. Chapter 34. And in the 6th year of this week of this 44th Jubilee, 2148 a.m., Jacob sent his sons to pasture their sheep, and his servants with them to the pastures of Shechem. And the 7 kings of the Amorites assembled themselves together against them, to slay them, hiding themselves under the trees, and to take their cattle as a prey. And Jacob and Levi and Judah and Joseph were in the house with Isaac their father, for his spirit was sorrowful, and they could not leave him. And Benjamin was the youngest, and for this reason remained with his father. And there came the kings of Taphu, and the kings of Arizah, and the kings of Saragan, and the kings of Silo, and the kings of Gaas, and the king of Bethoron, and the king of Manasseh, and all those who dwell in these mountains, and who dwell in the woods in the land of Canaan. And they announced this to Jacob, saying, Behold, the kings of the Amorites have surrounded thy sons, and plundered their herds. And he arose from his house, he and his 3 sons, and all the servants of his father, and his own servants, and he went against them with 6,000 men, who carried swords. And he slew them in the pastures of Shechem, and pursued those who fled. And he slew them with the edge of the sword. And he slew Arisah, and Taphu, and Sarigan, and Silo, and Amani Sakir, and Gaas. And he recovered his herds. And he prevailed over them, and imposed tribute on them, that they should pay him tribute, 5 fruit products of their land. And he built Robel and Tamnatares. And he returned in peace, and made peace with them, and they became his servants, until the day that he and his sons went down into Egypt. And in the 7th year of this week, 2149 a.m., he sent Joseph to learn about the welfare of his brothers from his house to the land of Shechem, and he found them in the land of Dothan. And they dealt treacherously with him, and formed a plot against him to slay him, but changing their minds, they sold him to Ishmaelite merchants, and they brought him down into Egypt. And they sold him to Potiphar, the eunuch of Pharaoh, the chief of the cooks, priest of the city of Eliu. And the sons of Jacob slaughtered a kid, and dipped the coat of Joseph in the blood, and sent it to Jacob their father on the 10th of the 7th month. And he mourned all that night, for they had brought it to him in the evening, and he became feverish with mourning for his death. And he said, An evil beast hath devoured Joseph. And all the members of his house mourned with him that day, and they were grieving and mourning with him all that day. And his sons and his daughter rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted for his son. And on that day Bilhah heard that Joseph had perished, and she died mourning him, and she was living in Caphrateth. And Dinah also, his daughter, died after Joseph had perished. And there came these 3 mournings upon Israel in 1 month. And they buried Bilhah over against the tomb of Rachel, and Dinah also, his daughter, they buried there. And he mourned for Joseph 1 year, and did not cease. For he said, Let me go down to the grave, mourning for my son. For this reason it is ordained for the children of Israel that they should afflict themselves on the 10th of the 7th month, on the day that the news which made him weep for Joseph came to Jacob his father, that they should make atonement for themselves thereon with a young goat on the 10th of the 7th month, once a year, for their sins. For they had grieved the affection of their father regarding Joseph his son. And this day has been ordained that they should grieve thereon for their sins, and for all their transgressions, and for all their errors, so that they might cleanse themselves on that day once a year. And after Joseph perished, the sons of Jacob took unto themselves wives. The name of Reuben's wife is Adah, and the name of Simeon's wife is Adelbeah, a Canaanite. And the name of Levi's wife is Melchah, of the daughters of Aram, of the seed of the sons of Terah. And the name of Judah's wife, Betasuel, a Canaanite. And the name of Issachar's wife, Hezakah. And the name of Zabulon's wife, Naiman. And the name of Dan's wife, Eglah. And the name of Naphtali's wife, Rasu of Mesopotamia. And the name of Gad's wife, Makkah. And the name of Asher's wife, Ijonah. And the name of Joseph's wife, Asenath the Egyptian. And the name of Benjamin's wife, Ijasaka. And Simeon repented and took a second wife from Mesopotamia as his brothers. Chapter 35. And in the first year of the first week of the 45th Jubilee, 2157 a.m., Rebekah called Jacob her son, and commanded him regarding his father and regarding his brother, that he should honor them all the days of his life. And Jacob said, I will do everything as thou hast commanded me, for this thing will be honor and greatness to me, and righteousness before the Lord, that I should honor them. And thou too, mother, knowest from the time I was born until this day all my deeds and all that is in my heart, that I always think good concerning all. And how should I not do this thing which thou hast commanded me, that I should honor my father and my brother? Tell me, mother, what perversity hast thou seen in me, and I shall turn away from it, and mercy will be upon me. And she said unto him, My son, I have not seen in thee all my days any perverse, but only upright deeds. And yet I will tell thee the truth, my son. I shall die this year, and I shall not survive this year in my life. For I have seen in a dream the day of my death, that I should not live beyond 155 years. And behold, I have completed all the days of my life which I am to live. And Jacob laughed at the words of his mother, because his mother had said unto him that she should die, and she was sitting opposite to him in possession of her strength, and she was not infirm in her strength, for she went in and out and saw, and her teeth were strong, and no ailment had touched her all the days of her life. And Jacob said unto her, Blessed am I, mother, if my days approach the days of thy life, and my strength remain with me thus as thy strength. And thou wilt not die, for thou art jesting idly with me regarding thy death. And she went in to Isaac, and said unto him, One petition I make unto thee. Make Esau swear that he will not injure Jacob, nor pursue him with enmity. For thou knowest Esau's thoughts, that they are perverse from his youth, and there is no goodness in him, for he desires after thy death to kill him. And thou knowest all that he has done since the day Jacob his brother went to Haran until this day, how he has forsaken us with his whole heart, and has done evil to us. Thy flocks he has taken to himself, and carried off all thy possessions from before thy face. And when we implored and besought him for what was our own, he did as a man who was taking pity on us. And he is bitter against thee, because thou didst bless Jacob thy perfect and upright son. For there is no evil, but only goodness in him. And since he came from Haran unto this day, he has not robbed us of aught. For he brings us everything in its season always, and rejoices with all his heart when we take at his hands, and he blesses us, and has not parted from us since he came from Haran until this day, and he remains with us continually at home, honoring us. And Isaac said unto her, I too know and see the deeds of Jacob who is with us, how that with all his heart he honors us. But I loved Esau formerly more than Jacob, because he was the firstborn. But now I love Jacob more than Esau, for he has done manifold evil deeds, and there is no righteousness in him. For all his ways are unrighteousness and violence, and there is no righteousness around him. And now my heart is troubled because of all his deeds, and neither he nor his seed is to be saved. For they are those who will be destroyed from the earth, and who will be rooted out from under heaven, for he has forsaken the God of Abraham, and gone after his wives, and after their uncleanness, and after their error, he and his children. And thou dost bid me make him swear that he will not slay Jacob his brother. Even if he swear, he will not abide by his oath, and he will not do good but evil only. But if he desires to slay Jacob his brother, into Jacob's hands will he be given, and he will not escape from his hands, for he will descend into his hands. And fear thou not on account of Jacob, for the guardian of Jacob is great and powerful and honored, and praised more than the guardian of Esau. And Rebekah sent and called Esau, and he came to her, and she said unto him, I have a petition, my son, to make unto thee, and do thou promise to do it, my son. And he said, I will do everything that thou sayest unto me, and I will not refuse thy petition. And she said unto him, I ask you that the day I die thou wilt take me in, and bury me near Sarah thy father's mother, and that thou and Jacob will love each other, and that neither will desire evil against the other, but mutual love only. And so ye will prosper, my sons, and be honored in the midst of the land, and no enemy will rejoice over you, and ye will be a blessing and a mercy in the eyes of all those that love you. And he said, I will do all that thou hast told me, and I shall bury thee on the day thou diest near Sarah, my father's mother, as thou hast desired that her bones may be near thy bones. And Jacob my brother also I shall love above all flesh, for I have not a brother in all the earth but him only. And this is no great merit for me if I love him, for he is my brother. And we were sown together in thy body, and together came we forth from thy womb, and if I do not love my brother, whom shall I love? And I myself beg thee to exhort Jacob concerning me and concerning my sons, for I know that he will assuredly be king over me and my sons. For on the day my father blessed him, he made him the higher, and me the lower. And I swear unto thee that I shall love him, and not desire evil against him all the days of my life, but good only. And he sware unto her regarding all this matter. And she called Jacob before the eyes of Esau, and gave him commandment according to the words which she had spoken to Esau. And he said, I shall do thy pleasure. Believe me that no evil will proceed from me or from my sons against Esau, and I shall be first in naught save in love only. And they eat and drank, she and her sons, that night, and she died, 3 jubilees and 1 week and 1 year old, on that night. And her 2 sons, Esau and Jacob, buried her in the double cave near Sarah, their father's mother. Chapter 36. And in the 6th year of this week, 2162 a.m., Isaac called his 2 sons, Esau and Jacob, and they came to him, and he said unto them, My sons, I am going the way of my fathers, to the eternal house where my fathers are. Wherefore bury me near Abraham my father, in the double cave, in the field of Ephron the Hittite, where Abraham purchased a sepulchre to bury in. In the sepulchre which I digged for myself, there bury me. And this I command you, my sons, that ye practice righteousness and uprightness on the earth, so that the Lord may bring upon you all that the Lord said that he would do to Abraham and to his seed. And love one another, my sons, your brothers, as a man who loves his own soul, and let each seek in what he may benefit his brother, and act together on the earth. And let them love each other as their own souls. And concerning the question of idols, I command and admonish you to reject them and hate them, and love them not, for they are full of deception for those that worship them, and for those that bow down to them. Remember ye, my sons, the Lord God of Abraham your father, and how I too worshipped him, and served him in righteousness and in joy, that he might multiply you, and increase your seed as the stars of heaven in multitude, and establish you on the earth as the plant of righteousness, which will not be rooted out unto all the generations forever. And now I shall make you swear a great oath, for there is no oath which is greater than it, by the name glorious and honored and great and splendid and wonderful and mighty, which created the heavens and the earth and all things together, that ye will fear him and worship him, and that each will love his brother with affection and righteousness, and that neither will desire evil against his brother from henceforth forever all the days of your life, so that ye may prosper in all your deeds, and not be destroyed. And if either of you devises evil against his brother, know that from henceforth every one that devises evil against his brother shall fall into his hand, and shall be rooted out of the land of the living, and his seed shall be destroyed from under heaven. But on the day of turbulence, and execration, and indignation, and anger, with flaming devouring fire, as he burnt Sodom, so likewise will he burn his land and his city, and all that is his. And he shall be blotted out of the book of the discipline of the children of men, and not be recorded in the book of life, but in that which is appointed to destruction, and he shall depart into eternal execration, so that their condemnation may be always renewed in hate, and in execration, and in wrath, and in torment, and in indignation, and in plagues, and in disease forever. I say and testify to you, my sons, according to the judgment which shall come upon the man who wishes to injure his brother. And he divided all his possessions between the two on that day, and he gave the larger portion to him that was the firstborn, and the tower and all that was about it, and all that Abraham possessed at the well of the oath. And he said, This larger portion I will give to the firstborn. And Esau said, I have sold to Jacob, and given my birthright to Jacob. To him let it be given. And I have not a single word to say regarding it, for it is his. And Isaac said, May a blessing rest upon you, my sons, and upon your seed this day, for ye have given me rest. And my heart is not pained concerning the birthright, lest thou shouldest work wickedness on account of it. May the Most High God bless the man that worketh righteousness, him and his seed forever. And he ended, commanding them and blessing them. And they eat and drank together before him, and he rejoiced because there was one mind between them. And they went forth from him, and rested that day and slept. And Isaac slept on his bed that day rejoicing. And he slept the eternal sleep, and died 180 years old. He completed 25 weeks and 5 years, and his two sons Esau and Jacob buried him. And Esau went to the land of Edom, to the mountains of Seir, and dwelt there. And Jacob dwelt in the mountains of Hebron, in the tower of the land of the sojournings of his father Abraham. And he worshipped the Lord with all his heart, and according to the visible commands, according as he had divided the days of his generations. And Leah his wife died in the 4th year of the 2nd week of the 45th Jubilee, 2167 a.m. And he buried her in the double cave near Rebekah, his mother, to the left of the grave of Sarah, his father's mother. And all her sons and his sons came to mourn over Leah his wife with him, and to comfort him regarding her, for he was lamenting her, for he loved her exceedingly after Rachel her sister died. For she was perfect and upright in all her ways, and honored Jacob, and all the days that she lived with him he did not hear from her mouth a harsh word, for she was gentle and peaceable and upright and honorable. And he remembered all her deeds which she had done during her life, and he lamented her exceedingly, for he loved her with all his heart and with all his soul. Chapter 37. And on the day that Isaac the father of Jacob and Esau died, 2162 a.m., the sons of Esau heard that Isaac had given the portion of the elder to his younger son Jacob, and they were very angry. And they strove with their father, saying, Why has thy father given Jacob the portion of the elder, and passed over thee, although thou art the elder, and Jacob the younger? And he said unto them, Because I sold my birthright to Jacob for a small mess of lentils, and on the day my father sent me to hunt and catch, and bring him something that he should eat, and bless me, he came with guile, and brought my father food and drink, and my father blessed him, and put me under his hand. And now our father has caused us to swear, me and him, that we shall not mutually devise evil, either against his brother, and that we shall continue in love and in peace each with his brother, and not make our ways corrupt. And they said unto him, We shall not hearken unto thee to make peace with him. For our strength is greater than his strength, and we are more powerful than he. We shall go against him, and slay him, and destroy him and his sons. And if thou wilt not go with us, we shall do hurt to thee also. And now hearken unto us. Let us send to Aram and Philistia, and Moab and Ammon, and let us choose for ourselves chosen men who are ardent for battle, and let us go against him, and do battle with him, and let us exterminate him from the earth before he grows strong. And their father said unto them, Do not go, and do not make war with him, lest ye fall before him. And they said unto him, This too, is exactly thy mode of action from thy youth until this day, and thou art putting thy neck under his yoke. We shall not hearken to these words. And they sent to Aram and to Aduram, to the friend of their father. And they hired along with them 1,000 fighting men, chosen men of war. And there came to them from Moab, and from the children of Ammon, those who were hired, 1,000 chosen men, and from Philistia, 1,000 chosen men of war, and from Edom, and from the Horites, 1,000 chosen fighting men, and from the Kittim, mighty men of war. And they said unto their father, Go forth with them, and lead them, else we shall slay thee. And he was filled with wrath and indignation on seeing that his sons were forcing him to go before them to lead them against Jacob his brother. But afterward he remembered all the evil which lay hidden in his heart against Jacob his brother, and he remembered not the oath which he had sworn to his father and to his mother, that he would devise no evil all his days against Jacob his brother. And notwithstanding all this, Jacob knew not that they were coming against him to battle, and he was mourning for Leah his wife, until they approached very near to the tower with 4,000 warriors and chosen men of war. And the men of Hebron sent to him, saying, Behold, thy brother has come against thee, to fight thee, with 4,000 girt with the sword. And they carry shields and weapons, for they loved Jacob more than Esau. So they told him, for Jacob was a more liberal and merciful man than Esau. But Jacob would not believe until they came very near to the tower. And he closed the gates of the tower, and he stood on the battlements, and spake to his brother Esau, and said, Noble is the comfort wherewith thou hast come to comfort me for my wife who has died. Is this the oath that thou didst swear to thy father, and again to thy mother before they died? Thou hast broken the oath, and on the moment that thou didst swear to thy father wast thou condemned. And then Esau answered and said unto him, Neither the children of men nor the beasts of the earth have any oath of righteousness, which in swearing they have sworn, an oath valid forever. But every day they devise evil one against another, and how each may slay his adversary and foe. And thou dost hate me and my children forever. And there is no observing the tie of brotherhood with thee. Hear these words which I declare unto thee, if the boar can change its skin and make its bristles as soft as wool, or if it can cause horns to sprout forth on its head like the horns of a stag or of a sheep, then will I observe the tie of brotherhood with thee, and if the breasts separated themselves from their mother, for thou hast not been a brother to me. And if the wolves make peace with the lambs, so as not to devour or do them violence, and if their hearts are towards them for good, then there shall be peace in my heart towards thee. And if the lion becomes the friend of the ox, and makes peace with him, and if he is bound under one yoke with him and ploughs with him, then will I make peace with thee. And when the raven becomes white as the raza, then know that I have loved thee, and shall make peace with thee. Thou shalt be rooted out, and thy sons shall be rooted out, and there shall be no peace for thee. And when Jacob saw that he was so evilly disposed towards him with his heart, and with all his soul as to slay him, and that he had come springing like the wild boar which comes upon the spear that pierces and kills it, and recoils not from it, then he spake to his own and to his servants that they should attack him and all his companions. Chapter 38. And after that Judah spake to Jacob his father, and said unto him, Bend thy bow, father, and send forth thy arrows, and cast down the adversary, and slay the enemy. And mayst thou have the power, for we shall not slay thy brother, for he is such as thou, and he is like thee. Let us give him this honor. Then Jacob bent his bow, and sent forth the arrow, and struck Esau his brother on his right breast, and slew him. And again he sent forth an arrow, and struck Adoran the Aramean on the left breast, and drove him backward, and slew him. And then went forth the sons of Jacob, they and their servants, dividing themselves into companies on the four sides of the tower. And Judah went forth in front, and Naphtali and Gad with him, and 50 servants with him on the south side of the tower. And they slew all they found before them, and not one individual of them escaped. And Levi and Dan and Asher went forth on the east side of the tower, and 50 men with them, and they slew the fighting men of Moab and Ammon. And Reuben and Issachar and Zebulun went forth on the north side of the tower, and 50 men with them, and they slew the fighting men of the Philistines. And Simeon and Benjamin and Enoch, Reuben's son, went forth on the west side of the tower, and 50 men with them. And they slew of Edom and of the Horites 400 men, stout warriors. and 600 fled, and 4 of the sons of Esau fled with them, and left their father lying slain, as he had fallen on the hill which is in Aduram. And the sons of Jacob pursued after them to the mountains of Seir. And Jacob buried his brother on the hill which is in Aduram, and he returned to his house. And the sons of Jacob pressed hard upon the sons of Esau in the mountains of Seir, and bowed their necks, so that they became servants of the sons of Jacob. And they sent to their father to inquire whether they should make peace with them or slay them. And Jacob sent word to his sons that they should make peace, and they made peace with them, and placed the yoke of servitude upon them, so that they paid tribute to Jacob and to his sons always. And they continued to pay tribute to Jacob until the day that he went down into Egypt. And the sons of Edom have not got quit of the yoke of servitude which the 12 sons of Jacob had imposed on them until this day. And these are the kings that reigned in Edom before there reigned any king over the children of Israel until this day in the land of Edom. And Balak the son of Beor reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Danaba. And Balak died, and Jobab the son of Zara of Bozer reigned in his stead. And Jobab died, and Asam of the land of Teman reigned in his stead. And Asam died, and Adath the son of Bered, who slew Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead, and the name of his city was Avith. And Adath died, and Salmon from Amasekah reigned in his stead. And Salmon died, and Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. And Saul died, and Baelunan the son of Achbor reigned in his stead. And Baelunan the son of Achbor died. And Adath reigned in his stead, and the name of his wife was Maitabith, the daughter of Matarat, the daughter of Metabedzaab. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom. Chapter 39. And Jacob dwelt in the land of his father's sojournings in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. And Joseph was 17 years old when they took him down into the land of Egypt. And Potiphar, an eunuch of Pharaoh, the chief cook, bought him. And he set Joseph over all his house, and the blessing of the Lord came upon the house of the Egyptian on account of Joseph. And the Lord prospered him in all that he did. And the Egyptian committed everything into the hands of Joseph, for he saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord prospered him in all that he did. And Joseph's appearance was comely, and very beautiful was his appearance. And his master's wife lifted up her eyes and saw Joseph, and she loved him, and besought him to lie with her. But he did not surrender his soul, and he remembered the Lord, and the words which Jacob his father used to read from amongst the words of Abraham, that no man should commit fornication with a woman who has a husband, that for him the punishment of death has been ordained in the heavens before the Most High God, and the sin will be recorded against him in the eternal books continually before the Lord. And Joseph remembered these words, and refused to lie with her. And she besought him for a year, but he refused and would not listen. But she embraced him and held him fast in the house in order to force him to lie with her, and closed the doors of the house and held him fast. But he left his garment in her hands, and broke through the door, and fled without from her presence. And the woman saw that he would not lie with her, and she calumniated him in the presence of his lord, saying, Thy Hebrew servant, whom thou lovest, sought to force me, so that he might lie with me. And it came to pass, when I lifted up my voice, that he fled, and left his garment in my hands when I held him, and he brake through the door. And the Egyptian saw the garment of Joseph, and the broken door, and heard the words of his wife, and cast Joseph into prison, into the place where the prisoners were kept whom the king imprisoned. And he was there in the prison. And the Lord gave Joseph favor in the sight of the chief of the prison guards, and compassion before him, for he saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper. And he committed all things into his hands, and the chief of the prison guards knew of nothing that was with him, for Joseph did everything, and the Lord perfected it. And he remained there 2 years. And in those days Pharaoh king of Egypt was wroth against his 2 eunuchs, against the chief butler, and against the chief baker, and he put them in ward in the house of the chief cook, in the prison where Joseph was kept. And the chief of the prison guards appointed Joseph to serve them, and he served before them. And they both dreamed a dream, the chief butler and the chief baker, and they told it to Joseph. And as he interpreted to them, so it befell them. And Pharaoh restored the chief butler to his office, and the chief baker he slew, as Joseph had interpreted to them. But the chief butler forgot Joseph in the prison, although he had informed him what would befall him, and did not remember to inform Pharaoh how Joseph had told him, for he forgot. Chapter 40. And in those days Pharaoh dreamed 2 dreams in one night concerning a famine which was to be in all the land. And he awoke from his sleep, and called all the interpreters of dreams that were in Egypt, and magicians, and told them his 2 dreams, and they were not able to declare them. And then the chief butler remembered Joseph, and spake of him to the king, and he brought him forth from the prison, and he told his 2 dreams before him. And he said before Pharaoh that his 2 dreams were one, and he said unto him, 7 years shall come, in which there shall be plenty over all the land of Egypt, and after that 7 years of famine, such a famine as has not been in all the land. And now let Pharaoh appoint overseers in all the land of Egypt, and let them store up food in every city throughout the days of the years of plenty, and there will be food for the 7 years of famine, and the land will not perish through the famine, for it will be very severe. And the Lord gave Joseph favor and mercy in the eyes of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, We shall not find such a wise and discreet man as this man, for the Spirit of the Lord is with him. And he appointed him the 2nd in all his kingdom, and gave him authority over all Egypt, and caused him to ride in the 2nd chariot of Pharaoh. And he clothed him with byssus garments, and he put a gold chain upon his neck, and a herald proclaimed before him El Elwa Abirer, and placed a ring on his hand, and made him ruler over all his house, and magnified him, and said unto him, Only on the throne shall I be greater than thou. And Joseph ruled over all the land of Egypt, and all the princes of Pharaoh, and all his servants, and all who did the king's business loved him. For he walked in uprightness, for he was without pride and arrogance, and he had no respect of persons, and did not accept gifts, but he judged in uprightness all the people of the land. And the land of Egypt was at peace before Pharaoh because of Joseph, for the Lord was with him, and gave him favor and mercy for all his generations, before all those who knew him, and those who heard concerning him. And Pharaoh's kingdom was well ordered, and there was no Satan, and no evil person therein. And the king called Joseph's name Sephantiphens, and gave Joseph to wife the daughter of Potiphar, the daughter of the priest of Heliopolis, the chief cook. And on the day that Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he was 30 years old, when he stood before Pharaoh. And in that year Isaac died. And it came to pass, as Joseph had said in the interpretation of his 2 dreams, according as he had said it, there were 7 years of plenty over all the land of Egypt, and the land of Egypt abundantly produced, 1 measure producing 1,800 measures. And Joseph gathered food into every city until they were full of corn, until they could no longer count and measure it for its multitude. Chapter 41. And in the 45th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, and in the 2nd year, 2165 a.m., Judah took for his firstborn a wife from the daughters of Aram, named Tamar. But he hated, and did not lie with her, because his mother was of the daughters of Canaan, and he wished to take him a wife of the kinsfolk of his mother. But Judah, his father, would not permit him. And this the firstborn of Judah, was wicked, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, his brother, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her, and raise up seed unto thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his, but his brother's only. And he went into the house of his brother's wife, and spilt the seed on the ground. And he was wicked in the eyes of the Lord, and he slew him. And Judah said unto Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain in thy father's house as a widow, till Shelah my son be grown up, and I shall give thee to him to wife. And he grew up, but Betsuel, the wife of Judah, did not permit her son Shelah to marry. And Betsuel, the wife of Judah, died 2168 a.m., in the 5th year of this week. And in the 6th year Judah went up to shear his sheep at Timnah, 2169 a.m. And they told Tamar, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnah to shear his sheep. And she put off her widow's clothes, and put on a veil, and adorned herself, and sat in the gate adjoining the way to Timnah. And as Judah was going along, he found her, and thought her to be an harlot. And he said unto her, Let me come in unto thee. And she said unto him, Come in. And he went in. And she said unto him, Give me my hire. And he said unto her, I have nothing in my hand, save my ring that is on my finger, and my necklace, and my staff which is in my hand. And she said unto him, give them to me until thou dost send me my hire. And he said unto her, I will send unto thee a kid of the goats. And he gave them to her, and he went in unto her, and she conceived by him. And Judah went unto his sheep, and she went to her father's house. And Judah sent a kid of the goats by the hand of his shepherd, an Adullamite, and he found her not. And he asked the people of the place, saying, Where is the harlot who was here? And they said unto him, There is no harlot here with us. And he returned and informed him, and said unto him that he had not found her. I asked the people of the place, and they said unto me, There is no harlot here. And he said, Let her keep them, lest we become a cause of derision. And when she had completed 3 months, it was manifest that she was with child. And they told Judah, saying, Behold, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, is with child by whoredom. And Judah went to the house of her father, and said unto her father and her brothers, Bring her forth, and let them burn her, for she hath wrought uncleanness in Israel. And it came to pass, when they brought her forth to burn her, that she sent to her father-in-law the ring, and the necklace, and the staff, saying, Discern whose are these, for by him am I with child. And Judah acknowledged, and said, Tamar is more righteous than I am, and therefore let them burn her not. And for that reason she was not given to Shelah, and he did not again approach her. And after that she bare 2 sons, Perez, 2,170 AM, and Zerah in the 7th year of this 2nd week. And thereupon the 7 years of fruitfulness were accomplished, of which Joseph spake to Pharaoh. And Judah acknowledged that the deed which he had done was evil, for he had lain with his daughter-in-law, and he esteemed it hateful in his eyes. And he acknowledged that he had transgressed and gone astray, for he had uncovered the skirt of his son, and he began to lament and to supplicate before the Lord because of his transgression. And we told him in a dream that it was forgiven him because he supplicated earnestly, and lamented, and did not again commit it. And he received forgiveness because he turned from his sin and from his ignorance, for he transgressed greatly before our God. And every one that acts thus, every one who lies with his mother-in-law, let them burn him with fire, that he may burn therein, for there is uncleanness and pollution upon them. With fire let them burn them. And do thou command the children of Israel that there be no uncleanness amongst them. For every one who lies with his daughter-in-law, or with his mother-in-law, hath wrought uncleanness. With fire let them burn the man who has lain with her, and likewise the woman. And he will turn away wrath and punishment from Israel. And unto Judah we said that his 2 sons had not lain with her, and for this reason his seed was stablished for a 2nd generation, and would not be rooted out. For in singleness of eye he had gone and sought for punishment, namely, according to the judgment of Abraham, which he had commanded his sons, Judah had sought to burn her with fire. Chapter 42. And in the 1st year of the 3rd week of the 45th Jubilee, 2,171 AM, the famine began to come into the land, and the rain refused to be given to the earth, for none whatever fell. And the earth grew barren. But in the land of Egypt there was food, for Joseph had gathered the seed of the land in the 7 years of plenty, and had preserved it. And the Egyptians came to Joseph, that he might give them food, and he opened the storehouses, where was the grain of the 1st year, and he sold it to the people of the land for gold. Now the famine was very sore in the land of Canaan, and Jacob heard that there was food in Egypt, and he sent his 10 sons that they should procure food for him in Egypt. But Benjamin he did not send, and the 10 sons of Jacob arrived in Egypt, among those that went there. And Joseph recognized them, but they did not recognize him. And he spake unto them, and questioned them. And he said unto them, Are ye not spies, and have ye not come to explore the approaches of the land? And he put them in ward. And after that he set them free again, and detained Simeon alone, and sent off his 9 brothers. And he filled their sacks with corn, and he put their gold in their sacks, and they did not know. And he commanded them to bring their younger brother, for they had told him their father was living, and their younger brother. And they went up from the land of Egypt, and they came to the land of Canaan. And they told their father all that had befallen them, and how the Lord of the country had spoken roughly to them, and had seized Simeon till they should bring Benjamin. And Jacob said, Me have ye bereaved of my children? Joseph is not, and Simeon also is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. On me has your wickedness come. And he said, My son will not go down with you, lest perchance he fall sick, for their mother gave birth to 2 sons, and one has perished, and this one also ye will take from me. If perchance he took a fever on the road, ye would bring down my old age with sorrow unto death. For he saw that their money had been returned to every man in his sack, and for this reason he feared to send him. And the famine increased, and became sore in the land of Canaan, and in all lands save in the land of Egypt, for many of the children of the Egyptians had stored up their seed for food from the time when they saw Joseph gathering seed together, and putting it in storehouses, and preserving it for the years of famine. And the people of Egypt fed themselves thereon during the first year of their famine. But when Israel saw that the famine was very sore in the land, and that there was no deliverance, he said unto his sons, Go again, and procure food for us, that we die not. And they said, We shall not go. Unless our youngest brother go with us, we shall not go. And Israel saw that if he did not send him with them, they should all perish by reason of the famine. And Reuben said, Give him into my hand, and if I do not bring him back to thee, slay my 2 sons instead of his soul. And he said unto him, He shall not go with thee. And Judah came near and said, Send him with me, and if I do not bring him back to thee, let me bear the blame before thee all the days of my life. And he sent him with them in the 2nd year of this week, on the 2172 a.m., 1st day of the month. And they came to the land of Egypt with all those who went, and they had presents in their hands, stacked, and almonds, and terebinth nuts, and pure honey. And they went and stood before Joseph, and he saw Benjamin his brother, and he knew him, and said unto them, Is this your youngest brother? And they said unto him, It is he. And he said, The Lord be gracious to thee, my son. And he sent him into his house, and he brought forth Simeon unto them, and he made a feast for them. And they presented to him the gift which they had brought in their hands. And they eat before him, and he gave them all a portion, but the portion of Benjamin was 7 times larger than that of any of theirs. And they eat and drank, and arose, and remained with their asses. And Joseph devised a plan, whereby he might learn their thoughts as to whether thoughts of peace prevailed amongst them. And he said to the steward who was over his house, Fill all their sacks with food, and return their money unto them into their vessels. And my cup, the silver cup out of which I drink, put it in the sack of the youngest, and send them away. Chapter 43. And he did as Joseph had told him, and filled all their sacks for them with food, and put their money in their sacks, and put the cup in Benjamin's sack. And early in the morning they departed. And it came to pass that, when they had gone from thence, Joseph said unto the steward of his house, Pursue them, run and seize them, saying, For good ye have requited me with evil. You have stolen from me the silver cup out of which my Lord drinks. And bring back to me their youngest brother, and fetch him quickly before I go forth to my seat of judgment. And he ran after them, and said unto them according to these words. And they said unto him, God forbid that thy servants should do this thing, and steal from the house of thy Lord any utensil, and the money also which we found in our sacks the first time we thy servants brought back from the land of Canaan. How then should we steal any utensil? Behold, here are we, and our sacks search. And wherever thou findest the cup in the sack of any man amongst us, let him be slain, and we and our asses will serve thy Lord. And he said unto them, Not so. The man with whom I find, him only shall I take as a servant, and ye shall return in peace unto your house. And as he was searching in their vessels, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest, it was found in Benjamin's sack. And they rent their garments, and laded their asses, and returned to the city, and came to the house of Joseph. And they all bowed themselves on their faces to the ground before him. And Joseph said unto them, Ye have done evil. And they said, What shall we say? And how shall we defend ourselves? Our Lord hath discovered the transgression of his servants. Behold, we are the servants of our Lord, and our asses also. And Joseph said unto them, I too fear the Lord. As for you, go ye to your homes, and let your brother be my servant, for ye have done evil. Know ye not that a man delights in his cup as I with this cup? And yet ye have stolen it from me. And Judah said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ear. 2 brothers did thy servant's mother bear to our father. One went away and was lost, and hath not been found, and he alone is left of his mother, and thy servant our father loves him, and his life also is bound up with the life of this lad. And it will come to pass, when we go to thy servant our father, and the lad is not with us, that he will die, and we shall bring down our father with sorrow unto death. Now rather let me, thy servant, abide instead of the boy as a bondsman unto my lord, and let the lad go with his brethren, for I became surety for him at the hand of thy servant our father. And if I do not bring him back, thy servant will hear the blame to our father forever. And Joseph saw that they were all accordant in goodness one with another, and he could not refrain himself, and he told them that he was Joseph. And he conversed with them in the Hebrew tongue, and fell on their neck and wept. But they knew him not, and they began to weep. And he said unto them, Weep not over me, but hasten and bring my father to me. And ye see that it is my mouth that speaketh, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see. For behold, this is the 2nd year of the famine, and there are still 5 years without harvest or fruit of trees or plowing. Come down quickly, ye and your households, so that ye perish not through the famine, and do not be grieved for your possessions. For the Lord sent me before you to set things in order that many people might live. And tell my father that I am still alive. And ye, behold, ye see that the Lord has made me as a father to Pharaoh, and ruler over his house, and over all the land of Egypt. And tell my father of all my glory, and all the riches and glory that the Lord hath given me. And by the command of the mouth of Pharaoh he gave them chariots and provisions for the way, and he gave them all many-colored raiment and silver. And to their father he sent raiment and silver, and 10 asses which carried corn, and he sent them away. And they went up and told their father that Joseph was alive, and was measuring out corn to all the nations of the earth, and that he was ruler over all the land of Egypt. And their father did not believe it, for he was beside himself in his mind. But when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent, the life of his spirit revived, and he said, It is enough for me if Joseph lives. I will go down and see him before I die. Chapter 44. And Israel took his journey from Haran from his house on the new moon of the 3rd month. And he went on the way of the well of the oath, and he offered a sacrifice to the God of his father Isaac on the 7th of this month. And Jacob remembered the dream that he had seen at Bethel, and he feared to go down into Egypt. And while he was thinking of sending word to Joseph to come to him, and that he would not go down, he remained there 7 days, if perchance he could see a vision as to whether he should remain or go down. And he celebrated the harvest festival of the first fruits with old grain, for in all the land of Canaan there was not a handful of seed in the land, for the famine was over all the beasts and cattle and birds, and also over man. And on the 16th the Lord appeared unto him, and said unto him, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said unto him, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham and Isaac. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee, and I will bring thee up again. And in this land shalt thou be buried, and Joseph shall put his hands upon thy eyes. Fear not, go down into Egypt. And his sons rose up, and his sons' sons, and they placed their father and their possessions upon wagons. And Israel rose up from the well of the oath on the 16th of this 3rd month, and he went to the land of Egypt. And Israel sent Judah before him to his son Joseph to examine the land of Goshen. For Joseph had told his brothers that they should come and dwell there, that they might be near him. And this was the goodliest land in the land of Egypt, and near to him for all of them, and also for the cattle. And these are the names of the sons of Jacob who went into Egypt with Jacob their father, Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. And these are the names of his sons, Enoch, and Palu, and Hezron, and Carmi 5. Simeon and his sons. And these are the names of his sons, Jemuel, and Jamin, and Ohad, and Jachin, and Zohar, and Shaul the son of the Zephathite woman does 7. Levi and his sons. And these are the names of his sons, Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari 4. Judah and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Shelah, and Perez, and Zerah 4. Issachar and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Tola, and Puah, and Jasub, and Shimron 5. Zebulun and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Sered, and Elon, and Jalil 4. And these are the sons of Jacob and their sons, whom Leah bore to Jacob in Mesopotamia 6, and their one sister, Dinah, and all the souls of the sons of Leah, and their sons, who went with Jacob their father into Egypt, were 29, and Jacob their father being with them, they were 30. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, the wife of Jacob, who bore unto Jacob Gad and Asher. And these are the names of their sons, who went with him into Egypt. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, and Hegi, and Shuni, and Esbon, and Arilai, and Aradiate. And the sons of Asher, Imnah, and Ishva, and Beriah, and Serah, their one sister 6. All the souls were 14, and all those of Leah were 44. And the sons of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Joseph, and Benjamin. And there were born to Joseph in Egypt, before his father came into Egypt, those whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of Heliopolis, bare unto him, Manasseh and Ephraim 3. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela, and Becher, and Ashbel, Jerah, and Naaman, and Ehi, and Rosh, and Muppim, and Huppim, and Ard 11. And all the souls of Rachel were 14. And the sons of Bilhah, the handmaid of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, whom she bare to Jacob, were Dan and Naphtali. And these are the names of their sons, who went with them into Egypt. And the sons of Dan were Hushim, and Saman, and Asudai, and Ijaka, and Salomon 6. And they died the year in which they entered into Egypt, and there was left to Dan Hushim alone. And these are the names of the sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, and Gunai, and Jezer, and Shallum, and Ev. And Iv, who was born after the years of famine, died in Egypt. And all the souls of Rachel were 26, and all the souls of Jacob which went into Egypt were 70 souls. These are his children, and his children's children, in all 70, but 5 died in Egypt before Joseph, and had no children. And in the land of Canaan 2 sons of Judah died, and Onan, and they had no children, and the children of Israel buried those who perished, and they were reckoned among the 70 Gentile nations. Chapter 45. And Israel went into the country of Egypt, into the land of Goshen, on the new moon of the 4th month, 2172 a.m., in the 2nd year of the 3rd week of the 45th Jubilee. And Joseph went to meet his father Jacob to the land of Goshen, and he fell on his father's neck and wept. And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thee, and now may the Lord God of Israel be blessed, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac, who hath not withheld his mercy and his grace from his servant Jacob. It is enough for me that I have seen thy face whilst I am yet alive. Yea, true is the vision which I saw at Bethel. Blessed be the Lord my God for ever, and blessed be his name. And Joseph and his brothers eat bread before their father, and drank wine. And Jacob rejoiced with exceeding great joy, because he saw Joseph eating with his brothers, and drinking before him. And he blessed the Creator of all things who had preserved him, and had preserved for him his 12 sons. And Joseph had given to his father and to his brothers as a gift the right of dwelling in the land of Goshen, and in Rameses, and all the region round about, which he ruled over before Pharaoh. And Israel and his sons dwelt in the land of Goshen. The best part of the land of Egypt and Israel was 130 years old when he came into Egypt. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren, and also their possessions, with bread, as much as sufficed them for the 7 years of the famine. And the land of Egypt suffered by reason of the famine, and Joseph acquired all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh in return for food, and he got possession of the people and their cattle, and everything for Pharaoh. And the years of the famine were accomplished, and Joseph gave to the people in the land seed and food that they might sow the land in the 8th year, for the river had overflowed all the land of Egypt. For in the 7 years of the famine it had not overflowed, and had irrigated only a few places on the banks of the river. But now it overflowed, and the Egyptians sowed the land, and it bore much corn that year. And this was the 1st year of 2178 a.m., the 4th week of the 45th Jubilee. And Joseph took of the corn of the harvest the 5th part for the king, and left 4 parts for them for food and for seed. And Joseph made it an ordinance for the land of Egypt until this day. And Israel lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, and all the days which he lived were 3 jubilees, 147 years, and he died in the 4th year of the 5th week, 2188 a.m., of the 45th Jubilee. And Israel blessed his sons before he died, and told them everything that would befall them in the land of Egypt. And he made known to them what would come upon them in the last days, and blessed them, and gave to Joseph 2 portions in the land. And he slept with his fathers, and he was buried in the double cave, in the land of Canaan, near Abraham, his father in the grave, which he dug for himself in the double cave in the land of Hebron. And he gave all his books and the books of his fathers to Levi his son, that he might preserve them and renew them for his children until this day. Chapter 46. And it came to pass that after Jacob died, the children of Israel multiplied in the land of Egypt, and they became a great nation, and they were of one accord in heart, so that brother loved brother, and every man helped his brother. And they increased abundantly and multiplied exceedingly, 2,242 a.m., weeks of years, all the days of the life of Joseph. And there was no Satan, nor any evil, all the days of the life of Joseph, which he lived after his father Jacob, for all the Egyptians honored the children of Israel all the days of the life of Joseph. And Joseph died, being 110 years old. 17 years he lived in the land of Canaan, and 10 years he was a servant, and 3 years in prison, and 80 years he was under the king, ruling all the land of Egypt. And he died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And he commanded the children of Israel before he died, that they should carry his bones with them, when they went forth from the land of Egypt. And he made them swear regarding his bones, for he knew that the Egyptians would not again bring forth and bury him in the land of Canaan, for Machamaran, king of Canaan, while dwelling in the land of Assyria, fought in the valley with the king of Egypt, and slew him there, and pursued after the Egyptians to the gates of Hermon. But he was not able to enter, for another, a new king, had become king of Egypt, and he was stronger than he. And he returned to the land of Canaan, and the gates of Egypt were closed, and none went out, and none came into Egypt. And Joseph died in the 46th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the 2nd year, and they buried him in the land of Egypt, and 2,242 a.m. All his brethren died after him. And the king of Egypt went forth to war with the king of Canaan, 2,263 a.m. In the 47th Jubilee, in the 2nd week in the 2nd year, and the children of Israel brought forth all the bones of the children of Jacob, save the bones of Joseph. And they buried them in the field in the double cave in the mountain. And the most of them returned to Egypt, but a few of them remained in the mountains of Hebron, and Amram thy father remained with them. And the king of Canaan was victorious over the king of Egypt, and he closed the gates of Egypt. And he devised an evil device against the children of Israel, of afflicting them. And he said unto the people of Egypt, Behold, the people of the children of Israel have increased and multiplied more than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them, before they become too many, and let us afflict them with slavery, before war come upon us, and before they too fight against us. Else they will join themselves unto our enemies, and get them up out of our land, for their hearts and faces are towards the land of Canaan. And he set over them taskmasters to afflict them with slavery, and they built strong cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. And they built all the walls and all the fortifications which had fallen in the cities of Egypt. And they made them serve with rigor, and the more they dealt evilly with them, the more they increased and multiplied. And the people of Egypt abominated the children of Israel. Chapter 47. And in the 7th week, in the 7th year, in the 47th Jubilee, thy father went forth, 2,303 a.m., from the land of Canaan, and thou wast born in the 4th week, in the 6th year thereof, in the 2,330 a.m. 48th Jubilee. This was the time of tribulation on the children of Israel. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, issued a command regarding them, that they should cast all their male children which were born into the river. And they cast them in for 7 months, until the day that thou wast born. And thy mother hid thee for 3 months. And they told regarding her. And she made an ark for thee, and covered it with pitch and asphalt, and placed it in the flags on the bank of the river, and she placed thee in it 7 days. And thy mother came by night and suckled thee, and by day Miriam thy sister guarded thee from the birds. And in those days Tharmuth the daughter of Pharaoh came to bathe in the river, and she heard thy voice crying, and she told her maidens to bring thee forth, and they brought thee unto her. And she took thee out of the ark, and she had compassion on thee. And thy sister said unto her, Shall I go and call unto thee one of the Hebrew women, to nurse and suckle this babe for thee? And she said unto her, Go. And she went and called thy mother Jochebed, and she gave her wages, and she nursed thee. And afterwards, when thou wast grown up, they brought thee unto the daughter of Pharaoh. and thou didst become her son. And Amram thy father taught thee writing. And after thou hadst completed 3 weeks, they brought thee into the royal court. And thou wast 3 weeks of years at court, until the time 2351, when thou didst go forth from the royal court, and didst see an Egyptian smiting thy friend who was 2372 a.m. of the children of Israel, and thou didst slay him, and hide him in the sand. And on the 2nd day thou didst and 2 of the children of Israel striving together, and thou didst say to him who was doing the wrong, Why dost thou smite thy brother? And he was angry and indignant, and said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Thinkest thou to kill me as thou killedst the Egyptian yesterday? And thou didst fear and flee on account of these words? Chapter 48. And in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee thou didst depart and dwell in the land of Midian, 2372 a.m., 5 weeks and 1 year. And thou didst return into Egypt in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year, in the 50th Jubilee. And thou thyself knowest what he spake unto thee on Mount Sinai, 2410 a.m. And what Prince Mastema desired to do with thee when thou wast returning into Egypt on the way, when thou didst meet him at the lodging place. Did he not with all his power seek to slay thee and deliver the Egyptians out of thy hand, when he saw that thou wast sent to execute judgment and vengeance on the Egyptians? And I delivered thee out of his hand, and thou didst perform the signs and wonders which thou wast sent to perform in Egypt against Pharaoh, and against all his house, and against his servants and his people. And the Lord executed a great vengeance on them for Israel's sake, and smote them through the plagues of blood, and frogs, lice, and dog-flies, and malignant boils breaking forth in blains, and their cattle by death. And by hailstones, thereby he destroyed everything that grew for them, and by locusts, which devoured the residue which had been left by the hail, and by darkness, and of the firstborn of men and animals. And on all their idols the Lord took vengeance, and burned them with fire. And everything was sent through thy hand, that thou shouldst declare these things before they were done. And thou didst speak with the king of Egypt before all his servants and before his people. And everything took place according to thy words. 10 great and terrible judgments came on the land of Egypt, that thou mightest execute vengeance on it for Israel. And the Lord did everything for Israel's sake, and according to his covenant, which he had ordained with Abraham, that he would take vengeance on them, as they had brought them by force into bondage. And the prince Mastema stood up against thee, and sought to cast thee into the hands of Pharaoh. And he helped the Egyptian sorcerers, and they stood up and wrought before thee the evils indeed we permitted them to work, but the remedies we did not allow to be wrought by their hands. And the Lord smote them with malignant ulcers, and they were not able to stand, for we destroyed them so that they could not perform a single sign. And notwithstanding all these signs and wonders, the prince Mastema was not put to shame, because he took courage and cried to the Egyptians to pursue after thee with all the powers of the Egyptians, with their chariots and with their horses, and with all the hosts of the peoples of Egypt. And I stood between the Egyptians and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand, and out of the hand of his people, and the Lord brought them through the midst of the sea, as if it were dry land. And all the peoples whom he brought to pursue after Israel, the Lord our God cast them into the midst of the sea, into the depths of the abyss beneath the children of Israel, even as the people of Egypt had cast their children into the river. He took vengeance on 1,000,000 of them, and 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed on account of one suckling of the children of thy people, which they had thrown into the river. And on the 14th day, and on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th, the prince Mastema was bound and imprisoned behind the children of Israel, that he might not accuse them. And on the 19th we let them loose, that they might help the Egyptians, and pursue the children of Israel. And he hardened their hearts, and made them stubborn. And the device was devised by the Lord our God, that he might smite the Egyptians, and cast them into the sea. And on the 14th we bound him, that he might not accuse the children of Israel, on the day when they asked the Egyptians for vessels and garments, vessels of silver, and vessels of gold, and vessels of bronze, in order to despoil the Egyptians in return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve. And we did not lead forth the children of Israel from Egypt empty-handed. Chapter 49. Remember the commandment which the Lord commanded thee concerning the Passover, that thou shouldst celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that thou shouldst kill it before it is evening, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. For on this night, the beginning of the festival, and the beginning of the joy, ye were eating the Passover in Egypt, when all the powers of Mastema had been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive maidservant in the mill, and to the cattle. And this is the sign which the Lord gave them. Into every house on the lintels of which they saw the blood of a lamb of the first year, into that house they should not enter to slay, but should pass by it, that all those should be saved that were in the house, because the sign of the blood was on its lintels. And the powers of the Lord did everything according as the Lord commanded them, and they passed by all the children of Israel. And the plague came not upon them to destroy from amongst them any soul, either of cattle, or man, or dog. And the plague was very grievous in Egypt, and there was no house in Egypt where there was not one dead, and weeping and lamentation. And all Israel was eating the flesh of the paschal lamb, and drinking the wine, and was lauding and blessing, and giving thanks to the Lord God of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Egypt, and from the evil bondage. And remember thou this day all the days of thy life, and observe it from year to year all the days of thy life, once a year on its day, according to all the law thereof, and do not adjourn it from day to day, or from month to month. For it is an eternal ordinance, and engraven on the heavenly tablets regarding all the children of Israel, that they should observe it every year on its day once a year, throughout all their generations. And there is no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. And the man who is free from uncleanness, and does not come to observe it on occasion of its day, so as to bring an acceptable offering before the Lord, and to eat and to drink before the Lord on the day of its festival, that man who is clean and close at hand shall be cut off. Because he offered not the oblation of the Lord in its appointed season, he shall take the guilt upon himself. Let the children of Israel come and observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, on the 14th day of the first month between the evenings, from the third part of the day to the third part of the night. For 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening. This is that which the Lord commanded thee, that thou shouldst observe it between the evenings. And it is not permissible to slay it during any period of the light, but during the period bordering on the evening, and let them eat it at the time of the evening, until the third part of the night, and whatever is left over of all its flesh from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire. And they shall not cook it with water, nor shall they eat it raw, but roast on the fire. They shall eat it with diligence. Its head with the inwards thereof, and its feet they shall roast with fire, and not break any bone thereof. For of the children of Israel no bone shall be crushed. For this reason the Lord commanded the children of Israel to observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, and they shall not break a bone thereof. For it is a festival day, and a day commanded, and there may be no passing over from day to day and month to month, but on the day of its festival let it be observed. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe the Passover throughout their days every year, once a year on the day of its fixed time, and it shall come for a memorial well-pleasing before the Lord. And no plague shall come upon them to slay or to smite in that year in which they celebrate the Passover in its season, in every respect according to his command. And they shall not eat it outside the sanctuary of the Lord, but before the sanctuary of the Lord. And all the people of the congregation of Israel shall celebrate it in its appointed season. And every man who has come upon its day shall eat it in the sanctuary of your God before the Lord, from 20 years old and upward. For thus is it written and ordained that they should eat it in the sanctuary of the Lord. And when the children of Israel come into the land which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and set up the tabernacle of the Lord in the midst of the land in one of their tribes, until the sanctuary of the Lord has been built in the land, let them come and celebrate the Passover in the midst of the tabernacle of the Lord, and let them slay it before the Lord from year to year. And in the days when the house has been built in the name of the Lord, in the land of their inheritance, they shall go there and slay the Passover in the evening at sunset, at the third part of the day. And they shall offer its blood on the threshold of the altar, and shall place its fat on the fire which is upon the altar. and they shall eat its flesh roasted with fire in the court of the house which has been sanctified in the name of the Lord. And they may not celebrate the Passover in their cities, nor in any place, save before the tabernacle of the Lord, or before his house where his name hath dwelt. And they shall not go astray from the Lord. And do thou, Moses, command the children of Israel to observe the ordinances of the Passover, as it was commanded unto thee. Declare thou unto them every year and the day of its days, and the festival of unleavened bread, that they should eat unleavened bread 7 days, and that they should observe its festival, and that they bring an oblation every day during those 7 days of joy before the Lord on the altar of your God. For ye celebrated this festival with haste when ye went forth from Egypt till ye entered into the wilderness of Shur, for on the shore of the sea ye completed it. Chapter 50. And after this law I made known to thee the days of the Sabbaths in the desert of Sinai, which is between Elim and Sinai. And I told thee of the Sabbaths of the land on Mount Sinai, and I told thee of the Jubilee years in the Sabbaths of years, but the year thereof have I not told thee, till ye enter the land which ye are to possess. And the land also shall keep its Sabbaths while they dwell upon it, and they shall know the Jubilee year. Wherefore I have ordained for thee the year weeks, and the years, and the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, 2,410 a.m., and 1 week and 2 years, and there are yet 40 years to come, little distant for learning the 2,000 pounds and 450 a.m. Commandments of the Lord, until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan to the west. And the Jubilees shall pass by, until Israel is cleansed from all guilt of fornication, and uncleanness, and pollution, and sin, and error, and dwells with confidence in all the land. And there shall be no more a Satan or any evil one, and the land shall be clean from that time forevermore. And behold, the commandment regarding the Sabbaths, I have written them down for thee, and all the judgments of its laws. 6 days shalt thou labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it ye shall do no manner of work, ye and your sons, and your men, servants, and your maidservants, and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. And the man that does any work on it shall die. Whoever desecrates that day, whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says he will do something on it, that he will set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling. And whoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house, shall die. Ye shall do no work whatever on the Sabbath day, save what ye have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest, and keep Sabbath from all work on that day, and to bless the Lord your God, who has given you a day of festival and a holy day. And a day of the holy kingdom for all Israel is this day among their days forever. For great is the honor which the Lord has given to Israel, that they should eat and drink and be satisfied on this festival day, and rest thereon from all labor which belongs to the labor of the children of men, save burning frankincense, and bringing oblations and sacrifices before the Lord for days and for Sabbaths. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the sanctuary of the Lord your God, that they may atone for Israel with sacrifice continually from day to day for a memorial well-pleasing before the Lord, and that he may receive them always from day to day, according as thou hast been commanded. And every man who does any work thereon, or goes a journey, or tills his farm, whether in his house or any other place, and whoever lights a fire, or rides on any beast, or travels by ship on the sea, and whoever strikes or kills anything, or slaughters a beast or a bird, or whoever catches an animal or a bird or a fish, or whoever fasts or makes war on the Sabbaths, the man who does any of these things on the Sabbath shall die, so that the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbaths according to the commandments regarding the Sabbaths of the land, as it is written in the tablets, which he gave into my hands, that I should write out for thee the laws of the seasons, and the seasons according to the division of their days. Herewith is completed the account of the division of the days. The end of Part 2 of the Book of Jubilees.
Look for Part 1 of the Book of Jubilees on Scourby U Bible channel. On the current screen, you can find the first link to Book of Jubilees playlist and second link to number 1 playlist From Genesis to Revelation, read by Alexander Scourby. Subscribe, like, and share it with others.